Welcome. We are deliberating about the initiation features for the Vedic mathematics as a mainstream discipline. Our today's focus is to remain upon the fifth letter. The fifth letter is E, the second vowel. The TC value of this letter is 2. We can recollect that the third letter or as well is of TC value 2. Therefore, today, while we are concentrating upon letter 5, we have to glimpse the distinguishing and parallel features of this letter with third letter, as both these letters are having common TC value 2. Today, we will be chasing this domain in 9 steps. The first step will be that we shall have a clear glimpse and have a proper appreciation of pram vyom, the transcendental space, the space of 5-space setup. 5 space is a transcendental space. It becomes a pram vyom, the fifth letter being fifth as such attracts and avails the values of number 5. Therefore, in this first phase, we shall be transcending the creator's space. However, we will be remaining within creator's space as the creator's space has a transcendental seal, and this transcendental seal is because of the transcendental origin. The second phase will be of specific attention of fifth letter features, and the fifth letter, because of its fifth placement, is presuming the existence of first 4 letters. As such, the fifth letter features will be extension of and in continuity of the features of first 4 letters. The next feature will be of specific comparative formats of third letter and a fifth letter, and it is this comparative formatting for third letter and fifth letter is there because both these letters are having common equal TC value 2. Fourth phase will be the format of hypercube 2 is square. The hypercube 2 as a 2-space body has its specific role with respect to the features of the fifth letter. Firstly, the TC value of fifth letter is 2, and secondly, 2 as a 2-space will be leading us to 5 geometries format with 5 versions of hypercube 2 as the representative regular bodies of 5 geometries of 2 space, and as such the fifth letter will be an extension of formatting of mathematical domain in continuity of the previous 4 steps. The fifth phase will be to have a glimpse of 3 spaces origin of a 2 space. Hypercube 2 is the representative regular body of 2 space. Hypercube 3 is the representative regular body of a 3 space. 2 space plays the role of spatial dimension of 4 space. 3 space plays the role of solid dimension of 5 space. Therefore, the transition from letter 4 to letter 5 in fact is going to be a transition and sequential progression from the reach up till the fourth letter, a step ahead up till the fifth letter. The sixth phase will be concentrating upon the formulation of Rishi, Dhyan and Shivalya. Formulation Rishi is of TC value 12, which is parallel to the summation value of TC value of the first three letters. The formulation Dhyan is of TC value 19, which is parallel to the summation value of the first four letters. And finally, Shivalya is the formulation of TC value 21, which is parallel to the summation value of TC values of all the first five letters. The seventh phase is going to be a concentrative revisit to formulation Ekadike, as these five letters are in fact the first five letters of the formulation Ekadikena, the first formulation of the first sutra of the Vedic mathematics. The eighth phase will be taking us to face with the integrated format of Ganita Sutras and Upsutras, and as the Ganita Upsutras bridge the gaps between the consecutive sutras, therefore the four gaps of first five sutras will be bridged by the first four Ganita Sutras. It is this integrated format of five sutras and four sutras as of the range of 9 hymns will help us appreciate the sequential initiation features which deserve to be imbibed by the sadhakas fulfilled with intensity efforts to be parallel with the Vedic systems. Final step here in this session is going to be upon a focus upon inward and outward transcendence. It is a phenomenon which simultaneously happens at the transcendental origin of four space as well as at the solid boundary of the four space, as three space plays the role of the dimension of five space. As such, the transcendence at the origin of four space is going to be the transcendence of the solid order, and its superimposition is going to be upon the spatial order of the four space. And the outward transcendence at the solid boundary as such will amount to that the each of the solid boundary component with its strip off from the solid boundary of the creator space will dimensionalize the outer space as a five space. The reach of these 9 steps deserves to be visited and revisited. Now let us have a concentrative look at the transcendental seal at the origin of the creator's space. Five space plays the role of origin of a four space. Now five space as origin with its placement at the center of hypercube 4 will amount to a seal, a transcendental seal, in terms of which the creative domain, the four space domain, remains integrated. However, the moment this seal will be broken. The creative domain will no more remain as an integrated domain. This conceptually would amount to Visfort. The formulation Visport as a simple rendering as explosion. The formulation Visfort is of TC value 29, which is parallel to the TC value of formulation Brahma, the overlord of the real force space. So the transcendental seal has a specific role, and the explosion, is fort, the unlocking of this seal will amount to the pram vyom, the transcendental space being permitted to come into play. The pram vyom is the formulation which is of TC value 44. Now let us revisit the formulation Ekadike, which is a composition of 9 letters, and these 9 letters are of sequential TC values 6, 4, 2, 7. This is the first 4 steps. It takes us up till 7 space in the role of origin of a 6 space. Now the fifth step onwards are of values 2, 4, 6, 8, and 1. The first 4 steps as 6, 4, 2, 7, the next 4 steps as 2, 4, 6, 8 are deserved to be glimpsed as a phenomenon where there happens an explosion, and with it is solid order stands released. 5 space is a solid order space. 5 space is the origin of a 4 space. 5 space is the transcendental space. The placement of 5 space at the seat of the origin amounts to putting a transcendental seal at the creative domain at hypercube 4. The moment there is a visfort, the moment there is an explosion, then there happens to be a release of a solid order. This release of a solid order as such within 4 space as quadruple steps will be simultaneously leading us values from value 2 to value 3, 4 to value 5, 6 to value 7, 8 to value 9. Therefore, the transcendental seal with its explosion, with its unsealing process coming into play, will amount to the param vyom, the transcendental space is having its display. This param vyom will amount to a reach of value 6, 4, 2, 7, parallel with the first quadruple steps of the creative space, and then the next 4 steps will be of values 3, 5, 7, and 9, and finally the culmination point is 1. As we know, 1 square is equal to 1 cube. Now this reach as 6, 4, 2, 7, 3, 5, 7, 9, and 1 becomes 44. It is parallel to the TC value of Param. Therefore, the sadhakas are fulfilled with intensity effort to be parallel with the Vedic systems shall be of specific concentrative attention of the explosion, the sport phenomenon happening at the transcendental seal, and this amounts to a release of param vyom at the center of the creator's space. It is this phenomenon which amounts to and transformation for the spatial order creative space setup to the solid order transcendental space. Therefore, The sadhakas are fulfilled with intensity, effort to be parallel with the Vedic mathematics, Vedic systems, Vedic sciences, Vedic technologies, shall sit comfortably and permit the transcending mind to be parallel with the release of transcendental space at the origin seat of the creators of space. And it is the feature which comes into play as a format of the fifth letter of the text of Ganita Sutras. Therefore, today, when we are concentrating upon the fifth letter, then we shall sit comfortably and permit our mind to be parallel with the phenomenon of explosion, Visfort, at the seat of the creators of space, and as a result thereof, a happening, a transcendental happening, a transcendental phenomenon of a release of param vyom. It is this phenomenon with whose comprehensions we will be having the appropriate insight and appropriate enlightenment needed for the intelligence to be of format features and values needed for to be parallel with the Vedic systems. Therefore, in this background, let us have a revisit to the set of first five letters. The first letter A is the sixth vowel. Its TC value is 6. 6 is a formulation shut, and the TC value of formulation shut is 10. See, 10 is equal to 6 plus 4. Therefore, here is embedded a hint as that the organization of the mathematical domain, which stands initiated as per value 6, is going to be of 6 place value system of hypercube 6 format. However, sequentially, inherently, it is of potentialities to transform as a 10 place value system. Further, we know that 10 is 6 plus 4, and 4 as a 4 space plays the role of creative dimension of a self-referral domain. Therefore, this organization of its own leads us to the next step, to as the second letter, the Ka Brahma of TCVL 4, and the formulation 4 as Chatur is of TCVL 12. One may have a pause here, and one will be blissfully with the inherent organization feature coming to the forefront as that 12 is equal to 10 plus 2, and it as a sequential progression formatting of the mathematical domain takes us to the TC value of the third letter. It is this feature, it is this inherent stitching, it is this mathematical formatting process in terms of the consecutive placements of the letters availed for the compositions which deserves to be comprehended well, and it is this comprehension and it is this insight will help sequentially melt the mental states and to have a sequential progression for the intelligence field acquiring a consciousness base, and as a result the first three steps of the first three letters of TC value 6, 4 and 2 of summation value 12 parallel to the TC value of Yog, to TC value of Rishi, and it is and to TC value of Yan, a carrier. So Yog, Yan and Rishi. It is this reach which will potentialize the intelligence to glimpse the origin of the domain. It is this transcendence within the domain along the dimensional frame as we reach from domain to dimension of dimension, and as a result thereof, at the fourth step, there will be a glimpsing, a complete glimpsing of the origin fold. It is this reach which, as a step ahead, will be taking us to the fifth step, and it is of TC value 2. One may have a pause here, and one has to have a fresh visit to the reach of TC value 2 of in respect of third letter, and reach of value TC value 2 in respect of fifth letter. Now, what is the distinguishing formatting features for the third letter and fifth letter becomes the first basic poser for the sadhakas fulfilled with intensity effort to be parallel with the Vedic mathematical processing steps. Therefore, let us have a revisit to the composition formatting of the third letter O as an elongated first vowel. So O plus O is leading us to the transcendence as one space, having one space as its minus one space as dimension, and minus three space as dimension of a dimension. So it leads us to 1 into minus 3 is to value 3. So the pair of values 3 synthesize as a synthesis value of the pair of solid dimensions, which comes to be 5. However, the E as a second vowel as of TC value 2 as a two space, as a two dimensional space, will lead us from two space as a domain to zero space as dimension, and minus two space as dimension of dimension, and the value will be, transcendence value will be 0. It is this distinguishing feature of the third letter and fifth letter which deserves to be comprehended well. Now, a step ahead, when we will be being face to face with hypercube 2, the representative regular body of a two space in creator's space, then we will be glimpsing as that the two space is of 5 geometries range, and there are precisely 5 versions of hypercube 2, and these 5 versions of hypercube 2 are the representative or regular bodies of 5 geometries range of hypercube 2 versions as of 2 space. 2 space has 5 geometries range. Hypercube 2, the representative regular body of 2 space in 4 space, is having 5 versions. Therefore, the fifth letter as second vowel, as a 2 space domain, as of a dimensional frame of a pair of dimensions of 0 order, and 2 space being of 5 geometries range, and hypercube 2 having 5 versions, is the set of values, is the set of features which are formatting and giving us a reach for extension of the chase in continuity of the fourth letter, and it is this reach up till fifth letter which will help us appreciate as that the two space which has 3 space in the role of an origin. Hypercube 2 is a 2 space body in 3 space. 3 space plays the role of origin of a 2 space. Therefore, when two space in its fifth version will be a two space domain free of its all the four boundary components, then a happening of disintegration of the two space domain and a release of three space as origin makes a parallel phenomenon of two space content playing its role for a reach up till four space, and the three space content will play its role as a five space. Two space content as two space in the role of spatial dimension of a four space, and three space content as a solid order for five space will be a first manifestation parallel happening of four space and five space, and at next steps there will be a reach at six space and seven space. Therefore, in this light, we have to revisit the formulations Rishi, Dhyan, and Shivale. We know that the first three letters, 6, 4, and 2, of summation value 12, takes us parallel to the format, features, and values of formulation Rishi is seer. And the first four letters of TC value 6, 4, 2, and 7 of summation value 19 will take us to the formulation Dhyan, meditation. So Rishi is seer, is full of potentialities to glimpse the origin. It is this glimpsing of the origin is the meditation reach. It is the dhyan, and the formulation dhyan as dha of TC value 7, as yon as a carrier. Therefore, it becomes phase and stage where the origin is put along the carrier formatting. So the origin is carried. The origin comes in a dynamic state. So it is the release of an origin from the domain. Therefore, the step ahead will be a reach from four space to five space, and five space is the space presided by Lord Shiva. Therefore, the dhyan, the meditation which puts the origin along the carriers upon the chariots, and these carriers take to the transcendental home, Shivalaya, ATC value 21. Therefore, the sequential reach up till first three letters as of the format features of Rishi, of four letters as of format features of the Dhyan, and as of five letters as format features of Shivale deserve to be comprehended and to be imbibed fully. It is this comprehension, it is this imbibing, it is this insight, it is this enlightenment which is there for the sadhakas who are sequentially formatting their intelligence parallel with the organization format of the composition of the text of Ganita Sutras, sequentially letter-wise of a reach from first letter to the fifth letter. Let us have a pause here and let us see that the first three letters of values reach 12, first four letters of values reach 19, first five letters of value reach 21, together take us to value 52, which is the TC value of formulation Ishwar Paranidhan. This is the enlightenment of Sutra 23 of the Samadhi Pada of Patanjali Yoga Darshan. Therefore, the sadhakas fulfilled with intensity efforts to be parallel with the Vedic mathematics, Vedic systems, Vedic organizations, Vedic sciences, Vedic technologies shall approach Vedic mathematical domain sequentially parallel with the placements roles of the individual letters and their cumulative reach. It is this sequential cumulative reach up to 3 letters, then up to 4 letters, then up to 5 letters together as of value 52 parallel to Ishwar Paranidhan is going to be the complete enlightenment. Sadhakas fulfilled with intensity efforts to be parallel with Vedic mathematics, Vedic systems shall be parallel with the enlightenment of the Patanjali Yoga Darshan, and with it one will be providing required consciousness base for the intelligence field. With it, one will be having a full glimpse of the formulation Ekadike, and it is the glimpse, it is the reach, it is the organization format of the formulation Ekadike, which will help the sadhakas to be parallel with the integrated format of the Ganita Sutras and Ganita Sutras. The integrated format of Ganita Sutras and Sutras is of a specific feature that the gaps between the consecutive sutras mathematical domains are bridged by the Ganita Sutras. The gap between Ganita Sutra 1 Ekadikein Purvain and Ganita Sutra 2 Nikhil Navasta Charma Dashata is bridged by Ganita Sutra 1 Anurupain. Likewise, the gap between Ganita Sutra 2 and Ganita Sutra 3 is bridged by Ganita Sutra 2. The gap between Ganita Sutra 3 and Ganita Sutra 4 is bridged by Ganita Sutra 3, and the gap between Ganita Sutra 4 and 5 is bridged by Ganita Sutra 4. It is this setup of 5 sutras and 4 sutras as an integrated domain being the reach of the integrated setup of the features of first to the ninth letter of the formulation Ikadike, and one shall sit comfortably and be parallel with these organization format features before one proceeds further for being parallel with the initiation features needed for to be parallel with the sixth letter. As such, this will take us to a phenomenon of inward and outward transcendence, a reach from fifth letter to the sixth letter is going to be a reach to be parallel with simultaneous inward and outward transcendence taking place. And this simultaneous inward and outward transcendence happens because of the transcendental cavity at the origin seat of the creator's space. And this transcendental cavity at the origin seat of the creator's space as transcendental domain, enveloped within a creative boundary of 10 components of the organizations of the 4 and 6 components, leading us to value 4 class 4 16 and 6 class 4 24, parallel with the dimensional frames of 4 space and 6 space, and happening a release of the transcendental domain. It is this happening of the release of the transcendental domain which will bring to a phase and stage when 5 space domain, being free of its entire creative boundary, will be in phase and state when its self-referral seal will be broken. The 6 space will be released. It is this release of a 6 space at the seat of origin of the transcendental domain which will bring us face to face with the additional features, additional initiation features will come into play for initiation to be within the Vedic mathematical domain as a mainstream discipline of knowledge. Thank you very much.